ready here. Justice Stats, Reggie Johnson, Eugene Moore, coming to you from lovely city of Atlanta, Georgia. Let's go full screen for the people here, Eugene, to this amazing news that is taking place here now.
Right.
We have Michael Penix Jr. has been named the Falcons starting quarterback moving forward. Now, moving forward is interesting, right? Because moving forward doesn't sound like a game. Moving forward sounds like Kirk could be out of here next year. If right. That's the case, like,
yeah,
which is kind of what you hope for, right? I mean, when you make these changes, ladies and gents, you're hoping for a complete change. You're hoping for a change that there's no reason for you to ever go back to Kirk, right? And this is why I never wanted to make the change unless we were certain that Kirk was done. Yeah. We're not certain Kirk's done. There's no point in making this change. I think the only thing now that brings Kirk back is like an injury to Michael Penix or something like that. And if Kirk comes back and plays lights out, then of course we know how this goes. I mean, winning cures everything in sports. So if he comes back and wins, we will not be trading him. But if he comes back and but I think the hope is that we do trade him. I think the hope from an organizational standpoint is that Michael Penix comes in and takes over this job, right? Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, I mean, right there, moving forward, I mean, that means to me, I mean, because you're not, I mean, Kurt's a veteran, so I just don't think you're going to do him the disservice of like, it's an open competition back in, in the spring, right? Or, so, and then, and there's just so many teams that need quarterbacks, so it just makes sense for like, hey, put it out there now. And see what because the phones will start ringing during the offseason. Teams need quarterbacks, and it's not like Kurt is a bad quarterback.
I think you sent me another tweet here, which we could also put on the screen. Oh, wait, that's not the tweet, Brock. We'll talk about you later, Brock. Let's talk about Kirk still here.
And there's your thing.
The financials here. The 62.5 million this season. That's rough. And the team is on the hook for $27.5 million fully guaranteed next year. And that $27.5 million fully guaranteed next year, guys, tradable. Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. Yes. 27.5. Yes. The 62.5 this year, rough. That is a hard pill to swallow because that 62.5 for a decent quarterback for his numbers, you can argue is a 2-year contract. Like you could pay somebody 62.5 over a 2-year period for the numbers for the numbers he's putting up there. So it's rough to swallow. 62.5 games, 14, 15 games into the season. Is rough.
Right.
It's rough. You pretty much pay this man about $5 million a game, roughly. A little bit less than that, but $4 to $5 million a game. That's what this guy was out here getting at this rate. And it's unfortunate, but I have to say, after the game, so I remember after the game, we talked about this a little bit. We were like, hey, I don't know if it was what we needed to get. I've never felt more terrible after a win than watching what our performance on Monday was. Terrible. Like a bad football team. We didn't look good, Eugene. We didn't look good. We let Ritter walk with the field on us almost twice. He did it once, but he almost did it twice.
Almost did it twice.
Now, Kirk doesn't play defense, so I don't know what that's about. You know what I mean? No, there's no way that should be happening. And if you're going to let the Raiders of the world walk up the field on you like that, you have no shot against the Eagles of the world. You have no shot. Right. They're going to destroy you. We beat the Eagles. We went there and beat them this year. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like you would think that we were turning that corner, but seeing the performance on Monday, I really felt like Kirk needed to come out for one. As soon as he threw the interception, it was kind of like a massive sigh. Like, come on, man. Like when that interception got thrown, it was kind of like, okay, man, like this might be a bridge too far for you to come back from because you just threw another interception. Like of all the things you could not do this game, you could not. I could let you live for throwing interceptions against the Broncos and the Chargers, but can I let you live for a performance like this against a Max Crosby-less Raiders?
Right.
No. It's not enough.
And you had the extra day to prepare. Like it's not like you're on short.
You had the Monday night game, man.
Right.
Yeah, the Monday night game. Let's see here. So let's see what Raheem Morris had to say. He said, after review, we have made the decision. Michael Penix will be the Atlanta Falcons starting quarterback moving forward. This was a football decision, and we are fully focused on preparing the team for Sunday's game against the New York Giants. It's rough because he's also said we didn't play particularly well at the quarterback position. We didn't play well Monday at that spot. I like to
No.
be open and honest about those things. It's always going to be those question marks. It's always going to be those question marks when it comes to head coach, when it comes to the quarterback. And you got to be really transparent about it. We got to play better. I think that's the thing that's got to be put out there, that we got to play better. And that's the thing that's got to be addressed. This thing's got to happen in order for us to find a way to win versus our next opponent, which is the New York Giants. And I feel like you don't need anything to win against the New York Giants. But I do agree with the rest of the things that he said in that statement. As far as Kirk not doing a good job and really holding on to the job, especially with that uninspiring performance on Monday. What do you have to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, you said it perfect. Like, okay, I'll give him one more game. And you like you said, you could have take that performance if it was like that first interception, right? Whatever. And then he just comes back and maybe he throws for like 280, 300 yards. It has a couple touchdowns. Then that interception gets washed, right? It gets. But then there's so many opportunities where they were in Raiders territory to score, and it was just like, and I don't know if it's just I mean, I know the Achilles injury. I know it takes them. I know it's an extra year, so I'm not faulting for that, but it's just he's not. It's like he went. I understand like the first couple of games he went for the rough patch of maybe not trusting the guys and not releasing the ball, but it just feels like he's holding the ball way too long. He's not trusting his guys again for whatever reason, and it's just like I just haven't seen this Kirk Cousins before. Like we've seen him, yeah, we've seen him struggle in the games with the light, the primetime light. But this is just I just haven't seen this before. I mean, we've seen the game, but usually Kirk bounces back, right? I mean, even with other teams. So it's just unprecedented for Kirk. And you're pulling up the numbers right there. That's just look at those numbers. And I know he's been playing some good defense, but he's got weapons around him. It's not like he doesn't have guys to hand off to throw to. I mean, I don't understand. I don't get it.
I told you I was willing to let him live against the Denver Broncos and the Chargers and the Vikings. I can let him live because all three of those teams give teams fits. So I'm willing to let him live against those three teams. I cannot let the Raiders situation go, though.
No.
I can't because the thing is they're nowhere near as good as those other teams. And also they don't even have their best defensive player playing.
No.
And this is still the performance. What would it have been if Max Crosby was out there?
Right. Right. That's the thing. I mean? Right.
Like, and when I'm looking here, I'm really torn about this, man. I'm looking at that yardage and I like that, man. I'm looking at that 3508 and thinking that's way more than we've had the last few years. I don't know if we're getting to over 3,000. So I'm happy to see a Falcons quarterback that has a number like that.
Right.
It's the INTs.
Yeah.
And the fumbles. Yeah. It's the INTs and it's the turnovers, guys. The 18 touchdown, he's tied 14th. There's only 6 human beings playing the quarterback position who have more yards than him. So I'm torn here. I'm torn because it's like you're going to bench a guy where literally he's 7th in yards right now. But it's kind of like at times I don't feel like Kirk, especially with the last game that he played, has been passing the eye test. No. Because some of those throws, they don't look great. Some of those, the INT looks terrible. When some of those balls were tipped or almost intercepted, you had some balls that you were glad they didn't get intercepted.
Absolutely.
Just because the defense didn't catch them. But it's kind of like I'm very torn here, man. It's when you look at stats like this, you do see a guy that you feel like can play at a high level in this league.
Yeah.
But at times looks like a complete statue back there.
Yes. Yeah.
You have the feeling like when he gets the ball back with that feeling that I told you that I had at the beginning of the season with Kirk, that feeling that was missing from Ritter when we had him back in the day, that feeling of we give this guy the ball and we feel like he's going to be able to go down and score for us. Wasn't there for me last night, man. It wasn't there. Like when he got the ball back with a few minutes left and they're handing the ball off to Bijan, I'm like, what? Like, they don't even trust this man to get 10 yards, to get the first down and ice this game.
No, they're playing the game not to lose versus playing the game to win, right? Yeah.
Against the Raiders, they've won 2 games.
Yes,
they've won 2 games. 2.
And they lost both their quarterbacks. You're going down you got
a third string quarterback. We're down to their third string quarterback over there.
Sign up the practice squad. Okay, it's like that's where you get this guy, and that he almost beat you. So
we were less than a touchdown away. They were goal to go, guys.
Mm-hmm.
They were goal to go. And they just that's how close this game came from being an absolute disaster for us.
Yeah.
But one of the things it showed me, and this is one of the things I talk about with other friends all the time when we're talking about our teams, is we're not ready. Like, I saw a Falcons team that says to me, we cannot compete with the top of the NFL yet. No. We can't. You can't have 15 points. You can't have 15 points against a 2-win team. You can't have 15 points against a 2-win team missing their best defensive player.
Right.
And think that you're going to come out here and do the same thing against these other teams. Where is our Falcons team that beat the Eagles earlier? Where's that team? Because that team wasn't the team that played the Raiders. That team would have rolled the Raiders, right? They would have rolled the Raiders. Even in Vegas, we would have rolled them. But that wasn't the team that we're playing. Kurt was throwing and playing with confidence earlier in the season. And it's interesting to see a guy who starts a certain way and then ends up like this. Because I think it's different it's very different when you see a quarterback start slow off of an injury and then develop into a guy that you feel like is the guy that you saw before, or the guy that you hoped he would be, or the guy that you signed before.
Yeah.
Kirk, though, is kind of having in the opposite situation where Kirk started looking like that guy we signed when we were 4-2, or we were leading the division and rolling through teams, beating teams like the Philadelphia Eagles. He looked like that guy in the beginning, and now it looks opposite now, right? Now he looks at the guy as like, I don't know if he's recovered from his injury, and all, but you got 15 games in front of him. Like, you got a 15-game sample size. Like, this should have been opposite, brother. Like, this should have been him working his way back into playing shape. And you get to the end of the season now where he's playing lights out, throwing for his 300 yards, a 2-to-1 touchdown interception ratio, looking like the Kirk you thought he would. But he looked more like that Kirk in the beginning of the season. And now in week 15, we sit and he's just not that guy.
No, absolutely. Just like you said, perfect thing. He looks like a statue. And we know he's not mobile, but
he never has been. Never has been. But can you at least be mobile in the pocket? Now, there's different. Can you have pocket mobility? I don't expect you to take off like LeBar, but can you have pocket mobility? Move up, move back, because it seems like he was deer in headlights as soon as they were back there, man. As soon as they were back there, he's going down.
Mm-hmm.
It's a wrap. He's going down.
Right. Yeah. and that's one thing you loved about it, was like he just would like, you just feel that pressure and just get rid of the ball like that half second early and just avoid the sack and just put it in the guy's hands or just be smart and throw the ball away. Now it's like he's missing the guys. I mean, you're just seeing some of the throws. It's like it's just like, and I don't mean to say amateur, but it's just like I just can't remember him being like this, even when he was not, just
missing
even
throws, right?
Just missing throws, right? Right. Just, I mean, we see it from a game, but usually he bounces back, like, and early on, right? Like that first game against Pittsburgh was just horrendous, but then he comes back and just has these competitive games against, again, when we beat Philly, and then the competitive game against Kansas City.
Like he had to fight in a man.
He had to fight, and now it's just like these last. And you have a great point. He did have some tough defenses, but he did have some moments where he could have done something, and it's like that. That's the thing.
Right, look better against those defenses than he looked. Right, like I mean, that's still. I mean, you could have reported at least looked a little better than what you did, but at the end of the day, this unfortunately was like a make it or break it game. It looks like for him.
Yeah.
I was not a fan of sitting Kirk this year because I wanted to get the money out of him. I wanted to get the money that we paid out of the guy. We paid the guy a lot of money, so I didn't want to sit him. But at the end of the day, if we feel like our season is salvageable, and if you're the front office, I can see what you're looking at here. If you're the front office, you're looking at a schedule that's not a bad schedule. You kind of got through the murderer's rows of teams. You didn't want to throw Penix in against the Chargers, the Broncos, the Vikings. Like, there's no way in the world I would want to do that. But you've gotten through the murderer's rows of defenses right now, and you feel like you have your playoff hopes in front of you. You're going to look at your quarterback room. You're going to say, who gives me the best chance? And you look at the past performance of Kirk throughout the last month, and a lot of teams wouldn't even give him that long. But this is 4 or 5 weeks for Kirk. And you're saying, hey, man, I mean, we just got to look in a different direction. We have to go and see if we can get a spark here and chase the Bucs down, because the Bucs put up 40 this past week. They're not slowing down.
No.
So they put up, Evans got back and they put up 40. So this is what you're going to have to keep. You got to hold serve with these teams. So you're probably looking like you don't feel you could do that with Kirk, but it's unfortunate. If Kirk does get traded, won't he still have to play though? Like, how do we trade Kirk if this is the last way he looked?
Well, I mean, because here's the thing. I think what works in our favor is it's not a lot of quarterbacks in the draft. I mean, you have two
not
guys,
a ton of competition from the draft.
Not top competition. So you can really sell them on something like I mean, I don't think they would trade within the division, but New Orleans, right? They're looking, or even like Tennessee. You could see them. I mean, who knows what Indianapolis is going to do? You have these teams that are going to be kind of 500 or better, and not be able to, or maybe not 500, but are going to be too high in the draft to maybe pick one of those top two guys for quarterbacks. And so Kirk's going to be there, and I mean, you can talk yourself into him. And plus, he'd be a year.
I think you can talk yourself into him. I mean, 112 yards. Just Kirk, man. I really wish it didn't happen like that.
Me either.
112 yards is not going to be enough. You're making $62.5 million this year. That's just crazy. It's unfortunate. We'll see what happens here going down the stretch. Hopefully Penix takes over, because here's the thing. The bad part about this is if you're a Falcons fan, you kind of have to hope for Kirk to never come back. That has to be your hope, because your hope has to be Penix takes over, becomes the number 8th overall pick that you thought he was, and rides off into the sunset. Mm-hmm. So that would effectively mean Kirk's time in Atlanta is over.
Right.
We should want it to be, right? Because if we don't want it to be, we're hoping that Kirk comes back and something happens to Penix and Kirk comes back. But that's not the hope, I don't think, in the organization. The hope in the organization is the kid takes over the job and keeps it for like a decade.
Right. And plus, you would, just from a contract, just thinking money-wise, you have the dead cap hit, this year. And I think if we cut him by June 1st, the dead cap money is a little less. So contract-wise, you just kind of want to move on from Kurt, because then you bring in Penix at the lesser money, and you can still put some pieces around him next year. Maybe not a lot, because again, you have the Kurt money, the dead cap money, but so then you're kind of washing some money under, washing away, and then you can at least put some pieces around, maybe on a defensive side around Penix, maybe not a number one receiver, but maybe again, just a solid number 2. So I think you're right. That's where you kind of want to go. And then you probably, what draft picks you can get for Kirk, right? You can definitely get some.
Yeah,
you're not getting number 1, but
like
you get some number 2s, number 3s out. Right. So, I mean, I was super excited for Kirk, and
me too.
And I was very
and he's at 3,500 yards. It's a mixed bag. He's not totally terrible. It ain't like the guy has 1,700 yards, but it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate where we find ourselves. And another thing too is, like, when it comes to the game that he had, the problem with the Raiders game is there's almost no good to be had there. It's almost no good to be had, because when you look at the game, it's 102. It's them missing their best player on defense. It's you only having 112 yards. It's you not even looking like you were going to have more yards than that, because there's so many times where we might have like a 3rd and 6, or we're 3rd and 8, or 3rd and long. You throw it to the flat, and that's uninspiring to me, because I'm like, that's you're Josh Allen's, even your Sam Darnold's of the world right now. You're Josh Allen's, and they're going downfield.
Yeah,
he's looking downfield. Right. He's going to take that thing downfield, man. Kirk had a lot of very close to the line of scrimmage passes. One didn't like he was throwing it downfield, or what they weren't calling the plays for him to. They didn't like they trusted him to do it. If he wasn't wanting to do it, they didn't like they trusted him to do it. He's checking it down. These are the kind of things I expect to see from the Ritter that we had last year. I expect to see stuff like that. I expect to see that 112 yards. But I think Ritter actually had more yards than Kirk yesterday.
I think he did. At least in garbage time, he probably made up for all those.
Correct. As we let him walk up the field and we decided to stop playing defense there towards the end. Now, here is a guy. Let's go ahead and share him now that we brought him up a little bit earlier. Let's talk about him now. Brock Purdy, who a guy at the 49ers are talking themselves into that some people have said he should not get paid. Now, let's talk about it here. Brock Purdy is currently projected to sign a 5-year, $290 million contract this offseason. This is an average annual of $58 million per year. Purdy's salary this season is $985,000. What are your thoughts here on this? Before I go kind of in, what are your thoughts here?
He's a starting quarterback. he's your guy. I mean, it's not why would I even think twice about this? He's established. He's your starting quarterback. He's a legit starting quarterback in the NFL. And that's I'm never going to get upset with money because you can always defer money. You can tie it in bonuses, but he's proven that he is a starting quarterback in the NFL. He has proven that he can run your team for the next 10 years. So why would you not give this guy the car keys, And look what he's done this season. What all the guys out, his numbers are still good. Like he is still putting up good numbers. And it's like, why would you here? We just talked about it. We just paid a starting quarterback. We'll probably have to trade. You have a guy right there. Everyone wants a starting quarterback. You need a starting quarterback for your team. How many teams are going to be looking for starting quarterbacks this coming year? It's a no-brainer. Sign your guy. You're going to have to make some tough decisions with some of your veteran guys, but sign your guy and move on because he's the dude. His numbers he's a starting quarterback. He's not a star, but he's still your guy. He took your team to Super Bowl.
He did. He did take your team to Super Bowl.
Right. So
I think the only oh man, God, I want to agree with that wholeheartedly. And I did agree with it more until I'm looking at a couple of things here. Now I see some concerns. So initially, when I heard people say stuff like they should not sign Brock Purdy to an extension, I'm thinking you are absolutely insane. The guy was in the Super Bowl. People are not, and he wasn't in the Super Bowl just like 10 years ago. It was like 2 or 3 years ago. Last year. Oh, my bad. Right. My bad. I'm cheating the man. The man was there last calendar year. He was there last January, or maybe this January, this calendar year. If we're really talking about it. He was playing the Super Bowl this year.
Right.
No Ayuk, no McCaffrey. Okay. I get it. Yeah. And maybe he takes a step back because of these things. It's a lot of money, so I'm going to take it from both sides. So initially with you, I came in this conversation with you initially, because I think that end of the day, he's done everything he can do. Like, what else do you want the guy to do? Like, you've got a Super Bowl with you, model citizen there. You guys look terrible when he's not playing, which is always great, right? For show you how good a player is. When that player is not playing, how bad do you look? You don't look good,
right?
When he's not in the game. So all that to me says you have to sign him. And I'm still kind of, if I could say I came into this conference. So initially I thought 80-20, you got to sign the guy. Okay. And I would listen to the people, the talking heads of the world who said that. And I was instantaneously writing these guys off. Guys who say, oh, don't sign Brock Purdy to extension. And I'm like, get out of here. They don't want to have to. I mean, who's going to coach this team with no quarterback if they don't sign him to an extension? Okay. Yeah. So I was 80-20 coming in now. After I look at a couple of things, and I'm going to share it with you and the audience as well, is that I'm kind of now 60-40. So I'm still 60 sign him.
Okay.
I'm 60 sign him, but I've added 20% of concern. And now I'm seeing maybe some of what they were talking about. So let's go to his stats here and we'll talk about a couple of things. Okay. We're going to look at his stats here. How many games did Purdy miss? He missed like 2 games. Was it 2 games this season or was it 1 game this season? I don't know how many games he missed this year.
I think it was 1 or 2 games. Yeah, it's still, but look, I mean, that's, yeah. I mean,
okay. 1 or 2 games.
Mhm.
3174 on the yards, 15 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. Not good on the 9 interceptions. I think that's high for him. I'll need to go through and look at his seasons. 65.2 is kind of where you want to be.
Yep.
Now, I'm getting, as I look here, I'm getting very much Kirk Cousins vibes with more interceptions for Kirk. But one of the things we got to talk about with Kirk does not play for Kyle Shanahan. I don't know if Kyle Shanahan would have drawn up better play. I feel like Kyle Shanahan would be a better coach for Kirk than our current coach for Kirk, but I'm just jumping out there. I'm just saying that I feel like offensively, Kirk would look a little bit better if he was here playing where Purdy's playing here now. When you go down, and I'm gonna tell you where the trouble really starts. Is the trouble start? But there are some caveats that I can kind of talk to you as we talk through the stats, because stats tell some of the picture, they don't tell the whole picture.
Right.
When we look here at the 12-6, uninspiring. No. This game right here is the game I kind of equate to Kirk's game. I don't feel like this is a game Purdy. This is not a game where Purdy looked good. This is a bad Purdy game. This is a bad game for Purdy. He had 31 attempts. He only had 142 yards. Even Kirk with his 112 yards managed to still hover around that 65% completion percentage for Kirk.
Mm-hmm.
This wasn't a snow game. There was some rain at the end, but it wasn't terrible. The conditions weren't horrible enough. I will let him live for this 35-10.
Yeah, that was just a weird game.
The problem is, you aren't the only one playing in those conditions, and they scored 35 on the other side. Two teams were playing in that snow. One is used to it a little bit, so I'm gonna give Buffalo. I'm gonna give that to Buffalo because it's Buffalo. They are more used to playing that weather than San Francisco is, and I feel like Buffalo is a better football team than San Francisco right now. So I didn't necessarily take that away from them. However, 94 yards. I see it. I see what they're talking about. I'd be lying if I would say I can't have the whole thing that I just went on Kirk come and look at this and be like, start co-signing these numbers. I can't.
Right.
Because some of these are bad. They're bad. The bad numbers are bad numbers. I will cape for Purdy a little bit here and say that with one of these weeks, I think especially here with this Buffalo week was also the week that he came back off that shoulder injury. I think he had an injury, and I feel like he came back off that injury this week. So he's something else he's dealing with, not to make excuses for the guy, but just to say that is something that actually happened. Okay. But when I do look at these games and I see the 159, the 94, the 142, and then I look at that 290 number that we just said, when you say 290 and I look at those numbers, I would rather take my chances with the draft than lock up that 290. Like I would, because lock up the problem. Here's our problem now in today's NFL. Locking up that money is prohibitive. It is a problem now. It is a problem. The window for a lot of teams, minus the Patriots, Tom Brady, and he was taking less money, so you can probably add them back into here.
Right.
Is that once you pay that quarterback, it gets very hard for you. It gets very hard for you once you pay that quarterback. You better have a Patrick Mahomes back there, man. You better have somebody back there who can make up for the fact that this one guy's taking up so much of a percentage of your cap. And Purdy's been a blessing up to this point, right? But now when you got to pay for a Purdy, I feel like you're going to have to do it. So I'm still in the do it camp, but I do get what the detractors were saying. I don't feel like before I thought they were just absolute idiots, just talking out their behinds. And now I don't. I can see the trepidation you may have, because we know that once you write the 290, you've written it. You know what I mean? And so what is that? 3 years? I don't know if they're going to do this it's a 5 year, right? So they're hoping to do a 5 year. And let's just say that this happens. We don't even know if the 5 year 290 will be the contract, but let's say it's the 5 year 290. Maybe they guarantee 3 years of that. Hard for me to think they're going to come out and guarantee 290. I just don't see that happening.
No. I mean, no, there's no, I mean, yeah. I mean, if it is,
maybe he gets 180-ish.
Yeah. I mean,
on the guarantee.
Yeah. Yeah. Everyone always freaks out when you look at the numbers. Like, look at the guarantee divided by
180-ish on the guarantee.
Yeah. I can see that. And then, like you said, you have those first 3 years are your hard cap hits. And then and then you're just maybe where you're at looking at 3 years. Yeah, I mean,
I would
I
have
just
loved a 3-year 120, Eugene. I would have loved a 3-year 120. A 3-year 180 is almost makes my stomach hurt. Like a 3-year
yeah.
180. Oh God, that's
But the thing
$60
is, like,
million.
yeah, the thing is, you hit it on the head. It's like with Kurt, you look at the numbers with Kurt. We're paying Kurt. You look at those, you get the yards. Yeah, you look at the yards, but it doesn't look good. At least with Purdy, you can still see it. Like with Kurt, it's the wheels are falling off. Like you at least with Purdy, you can
Yeah,
watch
I don't
games
think
and
the
go,
wheels are falling off with Purdy.
no.
I don't get that
Obviously, I
impression at
understand
all.
where it's like almost a 10-year or 12-year age
Oh,
difference. So
for
that's
sure. It's a
right.
12-year gap, age
Yeah,
gap for sure.
right. Age gaps. I mean that's not really fair to Kurt, but um, I guess I mean there's just really no. You just kind of. I mean, kudos to him for being. Interesting. You can also
He's done
franchise
everything
tag
right,
him.
man.
Yeah,
He's done
you can
everything right.
franchise tag
But
him.
yo, you know what I would do? Listen, here's the problem. Here's where business becomes business, man. Business becomes business when I see the numbers that I've seen, and now that franchise is looking so much better than it looked a few games ago. They looked at the beginning of the season, their franchise tag is looking very good now.
Yeah,
And I still feel like you're being rewarded with your money. So I don't mind giving you the money. I don't want to lock up the money for 3 to 4 years at this point with this team. Like, I don't know, man. Because you're on the cusp of either paying a lot of money for a team that looks like it's on the cusp of a rebuild blow up job.
yeah. That's the thing.
You owe Trent Williams, you owe Brandon
Trent
Ayuk,
Williams
you owe
aging.
Christian McCaffrey. You're gonna owe some defensive players. They're gonna want to get their money, and then you're gonna owe Brock Purdy.
Yeah.
Look at the amount of money. Do you want to be the Dallas Cowboys? That's what you want to look at. Look at the team. Look at the Dallas Cowboys. They paid CD, they paid Dak, right?
Mm-hmm.
Look at them. Do you want to be that team? I feel like if you're looking around, if you're a GM and you're in the NFL, that is making your stomach hurt right there.
Right.
Because you're looking at that like, oh my God, like we gave these guys the money and look at us. We don't look nowhere near as good as we looked last year.
No.
When these guys weren't making money. Look at the 49ers. They look terrible after paying these guys.
Yep.
After paying these guys, and they got to pay one more guy. Now that's like with Parsons in Dallas. You look terrible. You got to pay another guy. Yeah. They look terrible. They got to pay another guy a ton of money, $250 million over. Oh my God, Eugene. Like it.
And then how much money is team, like right? And then, like how much money
in their
is
own division? I don't know.
What's that? What
they are. Are they the best team in their own division right now?
No, they're not. They're absolutely not. The Rams are they're the best team right now. But again, I mean, the 49ers did get killed. They were like the injury button this year. I mean, every one of their guys. I mean,
kind of want to do a mulligan for them, for that entire team, for the entire. I think I heard Strager say that, and I kind of agree with that. Like you kind of, when you see these teams that are ravaged by injuries, you kind of want to give a mulligan to them. Even like with the Cowboys, like you see teams that are just ravaged by injuries. Yeah, the Cowboys have a quarterback injury. It's over for you. The 49ers have been with injuries to key players, key positions.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's going to be hard for you, right?
Yeah.
But then it's just like, how do you turn around, have this season, then go sit in the office with John Lynch, sit across from John Lynch and slide that $250 million contract right across the table? It's got to be hard. Like you're holding on to one end of that contract. Like you don't even want to let it go all the way across the table. You're holding on to it, man. Like, do I really want to do this? And I think the NFL has kind of forced your hands with how quarterbacks are now, Eugene. Right? Yeah. It's so important that the NFL being such a quarterback-driven league is forcing your hand to have to hand this guy $300 million. Now, I think when you're looking around the NFL, it's just rough to do. Look at Trevor Lawrence. Look at Dak. It's just tough to do. It is tough to do because look at the teams that are great. It's the same teams that have always been great. The Lamar Jacksons of the world, the Patrick Mahomes of the world, right? The Jalen Hurts, the Eagles that are the teams that were in the Super Bowl already. Like it's the same teams.
Yeah,
it's the same team. No matter what money's being spent around the league, the same cream of the crop is rising to the top. No matter where the money's being spent.
Right.
Hard hard decision that I feel like I don't envy the team that having to make this decision. I feel like they have to. I'm still 60-40, so I'm still with you. I still feel kind of like they have to make it, but man, if I could do that franchise tag without pissing this guy off, man. If I could massage that franchise tag in there for a couple of years, man. Hey, Purdy, we'll give you the franchise tag, man. We'll give you 60. We'll give you 80 2 years, man. We'll give you 80 for 2. We'll give you the Kirk Cousins 100 for 2. I don't want to give you 180 for 3. You know what I mean? Like, if I could get you to $40-50 million range, okay, we're talking.
Right.
45 million, 3-year. Let's get to a 4-year 120, maybe even a 4-year 160. You know what I mean? And we can massage some guarantees and massage some incentives in here for you.
Right.
But if almost 60 million for Purdy does, I get it. I get where people are coming from. Because what do we pay for? What is Jalen making? What's Hurts? Is Hurts making about 60? What is Lamar making about 60? Let's see what Lamar's making.
They're all in that. They're all in that range right there. So yeah, so you're kind of putting them in that. But again,
Lamar Jackson contract. Let's see what he's making. Lamar Jackson contract's a 5-year 260. They're talking about here a 5-year 290. There's no planet. There's no planet in the solar system. There's no country on this earth. There's no sport being played on this earth where I would feel comfortable paying Brock Purdy more than Lamar Jackson. There's no comfortable. There's just not. I would have a hard time doing. I don't care how much I like you. You're not Lamar Jackson, brother. I mean, you're not. He's not, Eugene. He's not Lamar Jackson.
He's not, but
so it's kind of like,
he's won a playoff game. He's won a playoff game, and he's taking his team to a Super Bowl. So he does that have his resume.
So it's kind of like he's gonna get the money. It'd be interesting to see where the guarantee.
That's it. Let's look at the guarantee.
Let's see where that guarantee lands before we start pearl clutching and passing out. But I cannot say that a smart football team will be paying their quarterback more than Lamar Jackson. Because if I was on that team, I would not be. There's no way in the world that I could talk to your agent and I'm going to hand you a check more than Lamar Jackson, who threw for 5 touchdowns a game ago. Literally a game ago. The guy was MVP how many times? He's won 2 MVPs. He's been in the league, 4 or 5 years?
Yep.
You put Lamar Jackson on the 49ers with Kyle Shanahan, I think he does pretty good. I think he turned into a pretty good player. Kyle Shanahan took Jimmy G to the Super Bowl. Let's not forget. Kyle Shanahan was there with Jimmy G. And I'm not even sure if Jimmy G's playing in the league right now. Is he playing?
I don't think he is. I think he was. I think he was injured or IR. I can't remember.
But hey, he was in the Super Bowl not too long ago.
That's
Let's
right.
not forget Kyle, the great Shanahan. He took that man there. Let's talk about Bill's contract here. Bill Belichick, we'll close it with Bill Belichick with the most underwhelming situation for me. I hate this. I hate this only because I am selfish and I want to see Bill Belichick break the record, the overall coaching record. And I believe he's so close and he has an absolute opportunity to do it. I think he's in the teens. I think he's close to breaking the record, which I think is Shula's record, which I want. I think Shula's got the record. I got to look at the record to see.
Yeah, Shula's got the record.
Breaking it. So I want to see him break the record, and I believe that it was very possible for him to break it. So to watch him go to UNC at his age, no, if Bill was like in his 60s and he goes to UNC, all good. Bill, go there for 2 years. Come on back, man. Come on back, right? You can go there, go to college for a couple of years, get the NFL, bad taste of the NFL out your system. Come on back to the NFL. But when you have somebody to the age that Belichick's at, it's kind of like, do you come back when you're near 80? I mean, do you what year do you come back? You know, I'm hoping, because I'm hearing, just for people who can't see on the screen, his UNC contract is a 5-year, $50 million contract, $30 million guarantee on the 3 years, $3.5 million annual bonus is tied to final rank, wins, ACC championships, college football playoff games. He'll get $10 million to allocate to assistant coaches. And UNC has agreed to increase NIL spending from $4 million to $20 million. Goodness gracious, $4 million to 20. That's a 5x increase. That's incredible. But it's. Could you imagine Bill Belichick? Something happened. He goes to the NFL, right? And they don't honor that NIL spend for the next guy. How pissed would you be? You'd be like, hey, well, you were going to give Belichick $20 million. I got to go back there and try to put a winning team together with $4 million $1 million here. Um,
Mhm.
it's interesting, but I don't like it. I don't like it because I think that he's an NFL coach, and maybe that's just me. Maybe it's just me getting my bah humbug from a college football standpoint on and wanting
Right.
to see Bill Belichick coaching an NFL team. And not to mention, there's going to be 6 to 7 jobs available, I'd imagine. And I think he would fit in one of the jobs. I think he wouldn't be bad as the Chicago Bears coach. I don't think he'd be a bad coach there. He knows how to coach
Mhm.
defenses, and he just needs a competent offensive coordinator.
Right.
I would like the Bears better than UNC for sure. So what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I sent you an article and I listened to a lot of just content about it. And it just seemed like
Mhm.
he so the NFL's becoming very collaborative. And from everything I listened to, and obviously Bill wants total control. And teams were not willing to do that. So I guess the article I sent, the ESPN article I sent to you, I guess they were like he'd get together with his
Mhm.
Zoom call buddies and they would I feel like this was totally like I'm just gonna really quick when I used to work I used to work at a music store in the mall, and we used to have like the mall walker with older people. And when they would get done, they'd all go to the food court, and like every now and then I go and get some breakfast, and they would get done, and they all too would be there just complain about everything. So that was my image when I read this. Was like these guys are just on a Zoom call complaining about the NFL like the entire time. A bunch of old guys going,
Interesting, because
but
college guys is getting more like it. Get here, you
right,
coming in at the right time, bro. Because welcome, hello, transfer portal and NIL.
yeah. Yes. So that's what I kept hearing is like, they kept meeting and they were just because a lot of teams were not willing to give up that control. And also, I just think the Kraft just torpedoing any chance he had because I mean he definitely torpedoed the Atlanta job for him. I mean there was definitely interest for him to come to Atlanta, but we all know that Kraft torpedoed that shot. So
Did
I
he?
just think
I didn't know that. Did Kraft?
yeah,
Was it
yeah.
Kraft who torpedoed that? I thought somebody
Hmm.
in the office in the Atlanta office was just like, nah, we don't really want.
Yeah, it
I
was
heard
because of
some
Kraft.
souring happened. Really? What
Yeah,
did he do?
just talked about how bad. I mean, he wants total control. That I mean, that's basically a nutshell. And he's not. You know he's obviously he's an older guy, so he's a little curmudgeon. So
I feel
I
like
think
he's
that
earned it to a certain
right.
degree, but he has not earned it
Listen,
to another degree. Like
yeah.
you see what I'm saying? He's earned it to a certain degree because of the resume,
Hmm.
right? You've earned it from
Yeah.
the resume standpoint. If I'm going to bring a guy in here, who cares if I give Belichick total control versus Joe random GM and Joe random coach that you just
Yeah.
brought to me in here?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like who says that they'll be better? But the problem is, and this was a problem at the end of his tenure in New England, the GM Belichick got the coach Belichick fired. GM
Exactly.
Belichick
And
is just not good. He is not a
yeah.
good GM. And
No.
Belichick as a GM, I don't know. I mean, but he was able to kind of Tom and Belichick as a coach might have held Belichick as a GM, kept him hired there, because that's literally what
Absolutely.
happened when he was in New England. So maybe that would have happened somewhere else. But I feel like, I mean, as a GM, if you were going just on draft picks and players surrounding Tom, Belichick would have been fired a long time ago as a GM. He was not supplying
Yes.
excellent draft picks around top, so it's kind of like it's hard to feel sorry for him from that aspect. The problem with all of that I just said is he's still Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
And therein lies the problem. He's still Bill Belichick. Like, so you never know. Like, he could still go out and beat Bill Belichick and then turn your team around. You know what I mean? You saw what Harbaugh's going around doing. Harbaugh's going around, no matter what you say about Jim Harbaugh, whether you hate him or love him, still Harbaugh. And when he comes in there, it's going to be a sea change for your organization. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Right.
So it may be the same thing here with Belichick. I think at the end of the day, what are your final thoughts on that as we wrap this thing up here?
I just kind of like I liked your idea. Like even I mean, we're just seeing him even if he's at the tail end. Bring him in, sign for 5 years. Let him turn the culture around for your team. Like especially for the Falcons. Just bring an identity back to this. Because I remember when like Parcells did that when he went to kind of the Jets and they kind of turned around a little bit after he left and
Yeah.
in New England,
Yeah.
we're in New England after he left there. And just bring him in for those
I mean, it couldn't have been any worse, right? You
right,
were already
right.
bad. Any team that's thinking about bringing him in is already bad,
Just
guys. You're already bad. So why
yeah,
not give the guy a shot? and then see if
Right.
he can change things around for you. If he doesn't, you're bad anyway. You can keep moving on as you've been moving on the past few years. And I know you
Right.
want things to turn around, but a lot of times these things don't turn around overnight anyway. So
No,
take some
it's like
swings
then
here.
yeah, and then yeah, I mean, I like it for him just because he's kind of getting to he gets to go to get to go to college. I mean, he's gonna have I mean, NIL gets you pretty much have free agents every year. I
Yeah, for
mean,
sure.
he gets to bring his own staff. I know his son's gonna be the successor.
Mhm.
I know there's a whole his dad coached there, so there's all that whole backstory. I mean, I
Yeah, I
like
hear
it.
there's
I
some
mean,
history there. It's some
yeah, that
history.
history. Yeah, so I mean, it's I mean, it's one of those things I think the NFL it's kind of, has passed him. I mean, it's unfortunate because I'd like to see him, but man, if he could just be there and just be a little more happy. I mean, it's kind of like when I watched Nick Saban on game day, or it's like,
It seems like a
man,
different guy out there,
it's just
man,
a
right? Like
different guy.
who
It's
is
like
that guy, you know?
I
I mean,
mean,
but you don't have
I
the stresses of the league and all that stuff there,
yeah, so it's
you
kind of
know?
nice, and I feel like he could do the same thing when he goes to UNC. He could just be,
Mm.
you know, just recruit and just again, the bar is so low there. It's not like you're going to be in the SEC. You have maybe 2 or 3 teams. It's not like he's going to
So
the
what is the
SEC,
bar?
right?
Is that like 10 wins, 8 wins, 7 wins? You gotta
Yeah,
have at least a
I
winning season, right? You gotta
yeah,
so at least 8 wins. You want to throw
I think it'll
7,
be
8
like
wins out there?
yeah, I think it'll be like
What
7
are
or
they
8
this
wins.
year? I gotta look and see what he's improving on. I gotta look and see what UNC's record. Let's check out UNC's
Were they
record. UNC
7 and
football.
6 or were they
Yeah,
lower than that?
UNC football
I can't
record.
remember
Okay.
that.
Because if they got to at least be better, they got to at least be better than that, right?
Yeah,
Because I don't
yeah,
know if they are a losing team, a winning team. They are 6-6, a
that's what it
500
was. 6 and 6.
team.
I knew they were like not 7
Three
and
and
6, right?
five in the conference. 3-5 in the
So
conference. So 6-6, 3-5
so
in the conference. So he's gonna have to at least get to. Listen, you bring in Bill Belichick, you increase your NIL. If I'm UNC and I bring in Bill Belichick and I
mhm.
increase my NIL spend 5 times, then I need 9 wins, bro. I need 50% better. I increased my NIL spend 5 times. What am I going to bring in? Why would I increase my NIL spend that much? Bring in a Hall of Fame coach to win 2 more games.
Yeah. Yeah.
You need to be
Um,
now we're talking 9-10 status for what was been given to you versus what the last guy had. Because obviously we're looking at what the NIL spend was for the last guy, and he was able to get 6 wins out of that.
yeah. Yeah. Mac Brown, not a bad, not a bad coach, national
That's
championship
true. That's
coach
true.
there. So
Now, did Mac retire? What's his story? Did he just
they let
did
him
he get fired? They let
he
him
got
go?
fired. Yeah.
Mm.
It's like
That's interesting because you're
so
looking at Mac Brown, man. You're pushing Belichick age. How old's Mac, man? Mac's already
Mac
pushing
is
Belichick's age,
72.
right?
Mac is 72. Bill Belichick's 73.
You see, I just pulled that off the top of my head right there. I'm just going off the top of the last time I saw him. Man, Mac looks like he's getting up there also. So they're already kind of used to grandpa in there
Yeah.
on the whistle, right?
Yeah. Yeah. But I think I think it's a low I mean, it's a low expectation for I mean, yes,
True.
I know they're giving more money, but I can see, like you said, just being like an 8 or 19 uh, win team with Bill. I mean, I just don't think we see this. I
Not
mean,
can't do the double digits, huh? You can't. Is a bridge? Is
I mean,
10 games
he'll do
a
that.
bridge too far for
Maybe
you?
that last year, maybe that third year where he's thinking maybe about time to turn the keys back over to the son. Getting up there in age. Maybe he wants to go play a
Right.
little golf. I'm done
I'm
with
hoping he comes to the NFL. Now, I heard something interesting. I heard too, and I don't know if this is a rumor that might be some kind of with the buyout goes from 10 million to 1 million after like July or something like that. I heard. Now I got to look
yeah,
into the
but it's like
details,
June,
but
yeah,
those
but
make me
like
seem like, hey, if the NFL comes knocking, this is what we'll let you out for right here. It's a lot
right.
better price to get out for than that 10. Tell you that.
Or maybe he just like gets through like the whole recruiting and was like, man, forget this. I'm done. Let me just give this to my son and
That's
go.
what I hope he does. Come back to the NFL.
Yeah,
I need him to come back to the NFL before 74, 75, right? Let's just get back by 75, Bill. Get back by 75. You come back, you're near 80, it's going to be a hard sell. You know what I mean? But if you can get back at like 75 ish, people are living a lot longer these days. Bill can go out and coach,
yeah, and
and
he's still sharp. I mean, I know he did the whole media tour and calling was it instant instead of Facebook calling instant face. He's doing the whole look at me. I'm kind of a funny guy. You want to hang out with me type of deal. So, yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I love for him to come back and break the record, but I mean, I wonder if it really means that much to him because he has 6 Super Bowls. Shula never won a Super Bowl. So I mean, it's one of those things like, does it really matter?
That's
Yes,
another
you
thing
won.
too. Like, I care about the ACC
Right.
championship game. I mean, come on. I mean, how many Super Bowls did I have? Like, do I really care? But I think that sometimes people never stop caring about the game in the sense of wanting to teach the game, the love for the game, wanting to
Yeah.
mentor man, wanting to be around the team, stuff like that I could see. But otherwise, I don't know. Now, another thing about Bill Belichick, just so people don't know, I think Bill Belichick's dating like a 20-year-old woman.
24-year-old.
Think she's like 24.
Mm-hmm.
Bill Belichick. Let's do the math because you just said 73. And I can do it very quick. It's 49 years, ladies and gentlemen. Let me just go ahead and go very fast. 49 years. 49 years. She can teach him how to use Facebook there, or the old Facebook if he wanted to. If she wanted to.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sure she can hit him up on the Insta face. Like she can teach him how to use it, right?
Yeah, because now you don't need to remember back in the day you had to have a college email address, right, to be on Facebook.
Yeah.
Now you don't need that, Bill. You can have any. Well, now he can, right? Because he will have a college email because of the
Yeah, he will.
UNC.
He'll be a
Bill
UNC
Belichick
man.
at
He could have
UNC.com or
got on
whatever.
back in the day when it first started. Now
Yeah.
you can run your
Now
way
he
back
good.
to there,
He's
man.
good.
The guy just hanging
I'll
out.
come full circle.
Yeah, man. The guy just hanging out with the hat to the back and the skateboard. The what up, dude guy, just sitting back, hat to the back, the skateboard. What's going on, guys? Bill. I'm just Bill. My name's Bill Belichick. It's here on campus, it's crazy, right? Can you imagine Bill Belichick sitting in your living room?
Recruiting you.
Yes, my kid is going, bro. You're going. You're going as soon as Bill Belichick walks into the living room. You're going there. Absolutely.
Your son's like, who's this? Who's this guy?
Right. By that time, he ain't played. He hasn't coached forever. Doesn't even know who the guy is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But hey, listen, you got to start. He go back. Hey, this is a great college coach. His name is Bill Belichick. Great college guy. Great college recruiter at UNC. This is Just a Stats. Check us out. Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you find your podcast. See you next time, ladies and gents.